A lot of us as children experience tragedies in our families. These tragedies are accompanied by stories of what happened before and what happened after. When we speak about loss and grief in families, we're talking about trauma. However, when we talk about suicide in families, we're talking about a specific trauma and a pain that hits different. Unfortunately, because suicide feels so insurmountable to deal with, many families rely on secrets and silence. Families have a tendency to not want to entirely share what happened or may change the story of what happened because the truth may be too overwhelming or they're afraid of judgment from others. Many family members are left with guilt, wondering what they could have done to change the outcome. Many families don't want to discuss the suicide because when you're dealing with the unthinkable, it's easier to not touch the subject. Suicide comes with a lot of shame, not just from the person who passes, but the shame the family experiences as a whole in coming to terms with the truth. Many families end up creating a system of secrecy around thoughts and emotions related to the suicide. Children are taught that certain questions or emotions may be too much or unacceptable. For some families, they have to upkeep an identity that they're perfect, so admitting a suicide happened in the family may expose the cracks in the foundation. Families don't want others to know they're dealing with mental illness in the family or trauma. Ironically, the secrets that previously existed before the suicide may not only be perpetuated, but also amplified. It's difficult to accept because the reality is that although a person who commits suicide is struggling with mental illness, seldom is it just the person's brain, but also there may have been people who influenced the outcome, which can be a very painful truth to even imagine. The guilt and shame around could I have done or said something different really eats people alive. Children also oftentimes blame themselves because as kids we're egocentric and we believe the world revolves around us. The kids are taught secrecy, so they learn to hide their own guilt and shame as well. The problem with these secrets is that they emotionally separate the family members and no one feels like they can really be authentic and belong at the same time. In situations like these, it's going to take the scapegoat of the family, the identified patient, the one who senses the family dysfunction to break the cycle by finally speaking with honesty. Families aren't going to like that, and there's going to be a lot of pushback, but in order to heal from something as tragic as suicide, you're going to have to begin to speak the truth. In my family, my father's suicide wasn't just kept secret, he was never spoken about entirely. For my mother, it was easier to hide the truth from us than do the emotional work of telling her children the truth. And it's true that it happened when I was 7, but I wasn't 7 forever. And even when I basically knew the truth, I confronted my mom and asked her if my father killed himself, and she still said no. And when I told her I know he did, she said, "I don't know why anyone would ever tell you." And that just speaks to how deep the shame and the desire to live in the comfort of secrecy can be. But we were all suffering in silence, and none of us found liberation until I was finally able to utter the words, "My father killed himself."